Good morning, students. Welcome back to our online classes. Now, from today onwards, we'll begin our English cross section and we'll start our new chapter, that is chapter 4, which is poem You Are Old, Father William. Now, let me give you a short introduction on this poem. See, this poem, in this, there are few dialogues. This poem, it is a structured as a dialogue between a father and a son, though the details given for the pair vary and cause confusions in regard to who is involved in this exchange. Okay. Now, I may also say that the theme involves generation gap, specifically how different generations can fail to understand one another. Is that clear? Now, let me proceed to the stanzas. Now, see, here in the first stanza, the structure of this poem is a dialogue between old man named Father William and his son. In the first stanza, the son pointed out that Father William was aged and posed the question of why he instantly stands on his head. You can see the posture, that how father is standing on his head. When asked if this was right because of his age, Father William contended that when he was in his youth, he was afraid to do this, but the age taught him did not have a brain to injure. Okay. Now, because of this detail, he have taken to performing the actions again and again. Now, see, students, there are so many number of things to note within these stanzas, including the relationship between Father William and his son. Now, the dialogue also indicates that he had addressed the old man by his name. Okay. This situation would hint that father was a title rather than a relationship. However, in line 2, this younger fellow was noted as Father William's son. Perhaps both father and son were but titles that express a relationship different than genetics, or you may say that the confusion continues. Okay, in this poem, the confusion continues in that Father William's reasoning for stand on his head. Now, in his later years, made little sense. Of course, he had a brain to be injured, so he could never be perfectly sure otherwise. Perhaps Father William believed that he had lost his mind, but it was still not an accurate account since the brain would have been intact. Okay. Now, here, if you may say that in such case, essentially, this would have been Father William insulting the son for being brainless, for questioning the father's action. It is an answer that was more mirror like than honest, in that the son got a response that was meant to be his own reflection. Okay. He is, of course, son is the reflection of his father only, rather than the actual rationalization. Okay. This is all about first and second stanza. Now let me proceed to third and fourth stanza, where you may see that here, if you see third and fourth stanza, we'll talk about uncommon fact of the father. Secondly, we'll also see that what are the conversations between father and son regarding the old sage, the gray locks, and also the limbs. Okay. Now, let me start the explanation of stanza third and fourth. Now, here, the lack of clarity for significant plot elements continues in these stanzas, since what was noted as Father William is now referred to as the sage. While on instinct, the reader might assume that this was a new person in the conversation. The idea that youth said, as I mentioned before, makes it clear that this was a continuance of the previous stanza's dialogue. Still, there are discrepancies present like fact that stanzas 1 indicate the older fellow had very white hair. Okay, the older fellow had very white hair, but in stanza 3 he had grey locks. It is possible, with this in mind, that the poem has revealed itself to be youth in general and an older generation rather than a specific pair of speakers, like an ongoing commentary. Okay, this is an ongoing commentary that the young do not understand the generations came before them. Okay, now see students, if such is the case, the mocking between the speaker is geared toward generation, so that for these pairs of stanzas, the sage, if you see in the next paragraph, it is written, in my youth, said the sage. Now the sage answered to the question of why he turned a back somersault in at the door. It becomes an insult toward the youths overall. Okay, he asked the youth if he would like a couple box of the ornament that he credited for his limbs having been very supple. Okay. Now this is an insult because it was telling the youth that the older generation was in fine shape, but the younger group could have used the assistance of this ornament to boost their strength. Now, see, students, it is very important as well to note that for every answer thus one in this poem, the response has essentially been the older generation through similar to the youth. But age showed them the error of their trains of thought. Okay. Again, you may see that there are continuously an errors and confusions between the older age and younger age. Okay, means there are many confusions, and this confusions will be continued in the next stanzas also. Now let us proceed to the fifth and sixth stanzas, where we'll talk about the jaws. Okay, weaker jaws, and also you will see that how the father could manage with the weaker jaws and how he used to have the food or heavy foods and all with the jaws. Okay, now let me start. Rather than criticize the elders' mobility in this pair of stanzas, the youth instead posed the question of how father could eat the goose with the bones and the beak, since his jaws were too weak. This takes again the generation gap to a level, since the topic is no longer related to moving about, but something as needful as eating. By asking this question, the young person attacked the father on critical level because eating is necessary. Now again this boy, I mean son, is continuously attacking his father. Now see, however, the manner in which the question was addressed is again unusual, since the bones and the beak were referenced as reason why father should not have been capable of eating the goose. Okay. Now see, here in this and in the next stanza again, if you see the arguments, which again with his wife also it was continued, that in the next paragraph if you see that there were arguments related to his wife also. Okay, now in this argument what is clarified, let me explain you that argued each case with his wife, which built the muscular strength in his jaws to allow him ability to eat the goose, as debating with anyone would not likely make him capable of consuming things as solid as the bones and the beak. The reasoning did not quite make sense. It was related to similar concepts, since eating and talking both involve jaw. But capability in one doesn't mean the same for the other. Now, here, students, if you see, once more, then the reader is left with the ideas that do not fully make sense, which again makes the tone of the dialogue a bit mocking, particularly when father used common scapegoat of marriage as a reason. See in the paragraph, if you see that he has made the scapegoat of marriage as a reason for enduring stress to become strong. The idea is practically chilled, and by presenting it as a rationalization, the father made a commentary on what he thought of the young. Okay. Now, this is all about fifth and sixth stanza. Let me proceed to the seventh and eighth stanza, where you will study or where we'll see about the eyes or balanced nose, and at last how the father get irritated with the son's question, and in the end what he says to be out to his son means he will kick outside. Now just see the picture that what he says, that stay out of all these things. Okay, now when the father, when he'll get irritated, he will say these things. Let me explain you this last two stanzas, that is seventh and eighth stanzas will study. Okay, now see, in this stanza the father's frustration became more apparent when he insisted his previous replies were enough and then threatened violence on the youth. If he did not stop with the questions, it is also clear that he considered the youth mindset to be inferior and a bother since he posed his own questions. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? By asking this, the father basically told the son that his wanderings were a waste of time. This lashing out, as it happened, came after what might have been most unusual inquiry from the youth when he asked his father about balancing an eel on the head on nose, commenting that this was clever. In reality, however, the idea was not clever but bizarre, and it was this extended absurdity that caused the father to break enough to tell the son to be off. Throughout the poem, overall, there is a progression of odd elements like mismatched descriptions, unusual wanderings, and ridiculous response that only halted when the father had it. Okay. Now, see, students, in this, as I told you that the father at last he was irritated and he said that please I don't want any of the conversation more regarding all these things, and he also said son, critically he said his son that I don't think that you should ask a question and everything is suitable under limit. This is the reason he became irritated, and he refused to answer any more questions. And he also said that you be out of all these things. Okay. Now, this is the end of the poem, and I hope you have understood it. Uh, Thank you. Now, I'll send you the answers. Please note it down in your notebooks. Okay. Thank you.